Okay, so I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Graham Hart because I'm going to interview him in this week's MF's Trans-Canada drive-by. But here's the funny kind of fact about Graham Hart is when I worked with him at CHEX and he was on air, we always had this running joke because we called him Hurricane Hart because the people in the control room would be like, 10 seconds till air. And, you know, for those of you who know, Graham read the news. It was 10, 9, and Graham would come running through the newsroom. And he would just like, 5, 4, 3, 2, sit down. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Graham Hart. So we were supposed to meet 17 minutes ago. He'll come. Oh, is this Graham? Nope, it's Teresa Kashuba. There she comes.
Hi, look, it's MF.
There you are. You see?
Hi.
Okay, so
Oh my gosh, this is the inside. Oh, he's coming now.
where?
He's right behind you. He's over your shoulder. What's he gonna think? Did you want to tell him that you're like, sorry, Graham, this was your big chance?
Yeah.
Teresa's here now.
5 words to describe Graham Hart.
Generous, kind, brilliant, creative, and sometimes a little late.
Just a
Bye.
bit.
Well,
push
love
over.
to see you.
Push
Push
over.
over. He said push over.
Get right up here.
Okay. Here, hold on. We can do this. This is.
That'll work.
There'd be no police
Okay.
watching this right now. Come on.
How are you going to get out?
In you go.
She's going to have to go right over to help
Yeah.
you. Ladies man Graham Hart. Also, fun fact.
Fun fact.
So I was
Ladies
just
and-
telling them, Graham, that you're usually always on time.
Uh-huh.
And you like a lot of
Oh
time.
yeah, that's what all the
Right?
anchors and producers
I'm
say.
just in time.
Just in time.
Yeah.
We all have to lean in. Like my camera doesn't have wide enough lens. So,
Oh, well, you couldn't see me there for a moment.
but now we
You're
do.
there.
Maybe nobody knew who I was or where. Or cared.
So
This
how
is
long
gonna
do I
be
have you for? How many appointments are you overlapped with right now?
3. But
Yeah.
we can handle this.
You can do it.
Have you ever done a threesome before?
I actually have done foursomes.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I've
They must have been really little people.
Yeah.
Just
Or-
saying.
this
don't
went
know.
off the rails really quick.
It is. That's
We
good.
just got here.
Okay, Graham Hart, you announced that you're retiring and you've shaken the community to the core.
I hardly think that's the case, but
Are you scared you're going to miss it so
yeah,
much?
sure I am. Sure
That's
I am.
scary. Like, change is
Absolutely.
scary, right?
Yep. It's a big change. 45 years of doing the same thing, off and on. You know, same in this business, but I mean in this station, and somewhat longer in the entire business. So, yes, it's a change of lifestyle. Don't have the same contacts with people. And when I come in here, it's like coming into a family. And
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I felt similar leaving here too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to describe what CHEX is because I don't know that all media outlets function the same way that CHEX does.
I don't think they do. And the smaller community station is particularly that way.
But you've phased out
Yeah.
quite a bit. I mean,
Yes.
you were like on air every day for
right.
when did that phase out happen?
Well, it's phased out over the past 25 years, but I've done this arrangement that I have for 25 years, roughly.
25?
It is. I'm pretty sure. I didn't check this out ahead of time, but
I don't think anyone's going to go back and check just in case you were worried about that.
well, if they do, please let me know. We'll do this thing again.
Okay. I've witnessed firsthand working with Graham the effort and passion behind a project. When he says he has these projects, it's something to really see. And the word perfectionism comes to mind because you won't stop. I think there's two people that are wired certain ways. Here's a job, go do it. Yeah, I did it. I got it done. It's fine. And there's people that have no sense of boundaries or time or punch in, punch out of clock. I will do this job and I will do it well.
I guess I fall into that, and that sounds like it's bragging, but
It's not bragging, it's an observation.
and it can be a curse as well.
Absolutely.
The obsessive compulsive nature, because it takes up far more time than probably anyone would ever notice, and people who do it more quickly, and I'm sure they're received those particular projects are received equally well, It's just that it is a compulsion to do it beyond the point where it needs to be done. And yes, I don't think I've ever put in for overtime. I don't believe I ever have.
So FYI, you're getting an invoice for what, 35,000 to the power of 10.
Oh, well, I suppose if one added up all the hours.
So I'd love to know your favorite role, because you have done a lot of roles here. And I know what mine is, and I think it's a lot of my generation always jumps to Campus Quiz. But you've done weather, you've done news, you've done your flashbacks,
I've done management.
You've done management.
Yeah.
You've done it all.
I ran the radio station for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Into the ground.
So what is your highlight? Or sort of...
I'm going to tell you that I think the most rewarding thing I've done is the flashback feature. Because I was in complete control of that. No one else was producing it. I did all the editing. Dave Dundas would tape me on the green screen. But apart from that, it was entirely at a certain point, Steve Guthrie started, got it rolling, and all I did in those days was about 10 minutes in front of the green screen, voicing it, which changed considerably as time went on, that I spent so much time with them by comparison.
I think you've made a couple people in production quiver throughout the years, Graham. If I was going to go out on a limb,
I think maybe you're right about that. And in fairness, that is not fair to them.
But it's part of who you are.
I know, but it's still. I've changed my opinions. I would get to the news set sometimes with seconds to spare. In fact.
But you always did it.
I did, except Jonesy. You remember Jonesy?
Yep.
Gary Jones. He couldn't find the intro for the newscast. So he just plunked me up, and I was still putting on the microphone and straightening up my jacket, which is what I would do while the intro was on, which was a 10-second intro. But I lost that 10 seconds because Jonesy couldn't find the intro.
I think what people who aren't in media need to know is, like, you're normally supposed to be on the desk like 5-10 minutes before, right? Like, that's kind of like a rule of thumb. Graham Hart's rule of thumb, and it only applies to Graham, is like 3 seconds. It's like, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us.
But that probably isn't fair to anybody on staff.
But you know what though? You built up the trust and they knew you'd get it done.
I think, I hope so. I remember once at a telethon, I read the 6 o'clock news, and at 7 o'clock we were up on the hill, we had different studios. And I remember coming around the corner to the telethon studio, and I heard somebody from one of the groups, maybe the Rotary, saying, "Where's Hart? This thing starts in 10 seconds. And Fred Berry, to his credit, Fred Berry, who produced that show and produced Campus Quiz, by the way, and I still see him from time to time, he said, "You worry about what you have to worry. Don't worry about Hart." As I'm walking by to grab the mic for the telethon. Well, so I guess in a sense, you were right about that. I guess they got used to me. And
Hurricane Hart, he'll be here. If you could, sort of 3 stories that really pop out of your mind of all the stories you've been able to cover and all the people you get to meet.
Oh.
Because I do believe it's a privilege in our industry to meet the people we get to meet and to share the stories that we get to share.
Yeah, one that I remember was a tragic story with Dennis Thompson, OPP officer Dennis Thompson. And I left the station, I wish I could remember what night it was. I think it was Friday night, or it might have been Saturday. I can't remember exactly which night it was, but I know I came down the hill and there were flashing lights to the left, just down by there was a cement factory down there.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And I thought it was somebody who maybe had been followed by the OPP and maybe had been inebriated and was being charged, picked up, whatever, and didn't think anything of it. Got out to the road on Park Hill, and there was a city police officer there. And I said, "What's going on back there?" And he said, "Somebody with a gun, and it could be a serious situation." I said, "Well, then I got to go back." And he said, "You can't go back." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, I can't allow you to go back, because it was
Yeah.
a critical situation. But you know the way around up there, and I went up another road and went back in a different way, which they hadn't covered yet, which maybe was a stupid thing to do, but I get up on the hill, and then the whole thing got sealed off, and I called Steve Guthrie at about 3 in the morning and said, I think you better get in here. Or maybe it was, I don't know, it might be a bit earlier than that. And I went and got him. I knew over the hill. We were over the hill. There was a way to get in there that wasn't even a normal way. And I took the 4-wheel drive down and got him in. In fact, I got the morning show people in because they couldn't get in either. And that was one situation where I had to go get them, came up the hill, and ran into the news booth and started reading the news. And I think there was probably about 5 seconds to spare on that one. And I was out of the station with the station vehicle. So that was a critical time. I suppose I remember it because it was so emotional. And I kept in touch with Dennis
Can you tell people what happened? Just like
Oh
rewrite?
yeah, I guess you're right. This goes back. We all know about it, but not everybody does. A chap had stolen a taxi and had a gun, and the police OPP followed him. And when they got out of their vehicle, he broke loose with a shotgun and injured both OPP officers, one less severely, and Mike Dennis. And Dennis Thompson got the shot right in the eyes. And it's quite an emotional story, but he went off into a ditch, and then somebody got him and called him back, and it was a difficult time. He is probably one of the most remarkable men I've ever known. He suffered this and never recovered, of course, from it. He became blind. He went back to work for I think 10 years, leading up a group at the OPP office that would do, I guess, investigations that saved an officer from going out to a place, and so there'd be a great time saver there. And he ran that operation by himself. He was the head man. He learned to use a computer that would speak.
Wow.
And he hadn't done computers, I don't think, before.
Wow, yeah.
That story.
2 more things I want to talk to you about before I let you go, and one is your social justice warrior nature, that whether you recognize it or wouldn't call it that, you're just this philanthropic man who gives so much to the community and your time. I've always said the greatest gift you can give is not money, it's time. And you have always been so generous with your time to so many charities and organizations. And the one that jumps out, obviously, is Laws, Lakefield Animal Welfare Shelter, but you've given to so many more. What's your take on why it's important to do that?
It's a good question. I don't know that I've ever really thought about it. It's just that I think those of us who are fortunate enough to not be in a position to have some needs, we all have needs, but I think it's wonderful that we can give a little bit of what we have on the plus side to those who don't, or to I guess, organizations that require some support. I don't know that I've ever really thought about it much.
Your kindness is one of your most, I think you're a true, whether you know this term or not, an empath, right? You empathize greatly with other people, and you've never put anyone, I can speak because I watched Graham, and I took a lot of what he did, and I consider him an amazing mentor, but nobody was ever better than anyone else. And that's how would you say that's how you see the world? That's how I see you.
I hope that I do.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, I've never had anybody put that in words before. Maybe it's true, and maybe that is what it is. I would like to think that, and of course in the news business, we also have to recognize that we don't know for sure the outcome, especially when charges are laid. One thing we have to learn is that we never prejudge. And so therefore, maybe that's part of it. Maybe part of me gets into that, or that gets into me. But we have to consistently remind ourselves that they didn't just pick up the guy who shot that person. We don't know that. They picked up a guy who they think might have shot that person, or who they fear might have, or have evidence to indicate is a possibility.
And then there's always two sides to the story.
Absolutely.
Can I tell people you have a beautiful home in Lunenburg?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
So things about Graham that I know: loves animals, very passionate about them, loves old cars restoring,
That's true.
and loves your home in Lunenburg.
Yeah, and I like rebuilding, so I do a lot of work myself on the house.
Yes.
It's old, and I'm not against modern either. I might even think of putting up a modern house in Dartmouth someday. But I have a great piece of property up there that I should probably make use of. But
I want our next vlog to be from there.
well, then that would be great, because you could come down and visit and see that if in fact I have been doing anything on
Hold
that
you
house
accountable.
in Lunenburg. Yes.
Yeah. Excited?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I would say. I think I might have mentioned to you that I have about 5%, maybe 7%. What am I doing? You know, because it has been so much a part of my life.
Yeah.
But I can flex and budge, and yes, it was time to do it. It was the appropriate time. It's time for me to get after some things that one should be doing in one's latter years in preparation for one's ultimate passing. The guy who owns this place, and then the guy rents it.
All right, so what are we looking at here, Mr. Hart?
220 SE Coupe, 1959, both of them.
Your new retirement?
Maybe 60. Yeah, I suppose.
They look ready for the road.
That's right, but just about.
Yeah.
They're not far from being ready, are they?
Now, where would you find such antiques?
I'm trying to think. I found these down the 115. I believe both of them at the same time. And then dragged them all up here, and I had as many as 20 at one time. Wow. In dreadful shape. But some I've restored, some I have not.
What draws you to this project? What do you love about it?
Well, I love the cars, I love the vintage, and I love the finished product. I love to drive them when they're functioning. But you can see there's a bit of time between now and when that comes.
What is the average time that it takes for a restoration for these?
I really can't tell you on average. I've done 3 of them, but I didn't keep track. I think I would have been too depressed had I done so.
I have a feeling it's much less when you're retired.
Yes, probably so. I would say yes. There should be some more available time.
Do you drive them once you're done with them?
I have, yeah. I've driven the two convertibles that you don't see.
Do you have a drawer in CHEX that you need to clean out?
No, do I have a drawer? A drawer? One? Yeah, I could use a hand. I could use a truck, as a matter of fact.
1-800-GOT-JUNK. And Graham doesn't throw anything out.
Now, that's another issue. But that's part of the compulsive obsessive thing, too, isn't it?
But being recognized and being aware of it,
Is a start.
it is.
The proper finish is to throw it out. You know, I have books. I look at them and I'm never going to read these. I'm not a big book reader. I don't have time for it. And I think, gee, I couldn't let that go. If I ever became infirm, I'd love to read that book. And I'd be mad at myself for I threw that book out 10 years ago, and now I'm sort of stuck, and I got to do something, and I'm going to have to buy that book. It would be cheaper to buy them at the time of my need, I suppose, than to store them.
You've never had a threesome.
Not with 2 gorgeous women. Where does that take us?
And on that note, Teresa, I just can't wait to see you get out over top of Graham.
These seats are warm.
I warmed it up for you.
I appreciate
You can
that.
thank TransCanada Nissan for that.
I'm going to thank. Just a moment. I got to get.
He's always polite.
Teresa
He
has to get out
is,
of here
and
first.
grammatically, remarkably accurate.
I shared a photo of Graham and I'm in a full Halloween ridiculous
It's fabulous.
costume, and Graham is looking at me with this disdain, and that's what you have, this great wit and humor about you, and I it's just one of my favorite. That's what people. But the comments within that was where I was going with that was, you know, your character, like there's just nobody that says anything bad about Graham. And I know it's hard for you to hear this because you're so modest and you're so humble, but I think it's important to know and recognize that your actions are so impactful and so recognized by so many people. And that's why this retirement it's like I say, it's a big deal for, I know yourself, but you've touched so many lives. And I think we forget that sometimes as a media person and a person of the community. You forget the impact, and that one conversation that you had a massive waterfall effect to so many other people.
Well, it's extremely generous.
TransCanada Nissan, proud sponsor of MF's Drive-Bys, where satisfied customers are our best salespeople.